Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. I'd like to thank you, the Chair, for allowing the House to discuss this important issue for the people of the North East. An issue I know that my colleague, the Minister of State, Fergus O'Dowd, is only too well aware of as well. Equally, it would be greatly appreciated by those who depend on the services and supports provided by the Drogheda-based Dignity for Patients group that the Minister of State, my colleague Róisín Shortall, is available here this evening to place on the record of the Dáil the opinion of the Department of Health and indeed the Health Services Executive in relation to that organisation's current funding crisis. At present, there are 120 cases of alleged sexual abuse perpetrated against patients of struck-off medic Michael Shine being dealt with currently by the Gardaí. Almost 250 cases of alleged abuse have been brought to the attention of the Dignity for Patients group in recent years. This House will also be aware that Justice Smith carried out a review into the handling of many of these cases and reported indeed last year. The organisation received funding from the state's health authorities to support those who came forward in the context of the Smith review itself. But since December the 31st, this funding stream has been stopped, and at a time when the Dignity for Patients group and those who depend on it most needed to be resourced. Dignity for Patients must be allowed the space and it must be allowed the resources to do its job. I am imploring the Minister here this evening and the HSE to establish some certainty in terms of finance to this organisation so as to ensure that those who it is alleged have suffered abuse in our public health system receive the support of the state, support which I believe they are entitled to. The delays in bringing cases against Michael Shine to the DPP, the frustration felt by alleged victims at the handling by the previous government of the fallout and aftermath of the Justice Smith review have contributed to, frankly, what is a growing and legitimate, in my opinion, sense of grievance and injustice. By committing to restoring state funding in line with the application the organisation has already made to the Department of Health and the HSE, by committing to making available the resources required to bring some closure to the torment undergone by victims, the Minister and this government would send out, I think, a very, very strong message indeed. In the absence of funding, Dignity for Patients has been forced to terminate staff contracts, to drastically cut services and place the burden of responsibility onto the shoulders of one sole dedicated founder who has in essence become a counsellor, a helpline operator, a campaigner, an advocate, an administrator and an accountant all rolled into one. Cathaoirleach, given the pressure and the emotional focus required to deal with such cases relating to abuse of this nature, this situation, quite frankly, is not sustainable any longer. Victims are still coming forward. Complaints and concerns continue to be expressed. As the Garda investigations continue, existing clients of the organisation require ongoing and consistent support and advocacy. This organisation, those who lead it and those who worked for it have acted courageously and often defiantly in shining a light into the darker recesses of a system that has failed to acknowledge the extent of the damage done to lives and indeed to communities by the alleged activities of a disgraced medical practitioner. Cathaoirleach, I'm imploring the Minister here this evening to ensure that a sense of hope is restored for this organisation and for those on whom it depends. I'm asking the Department of Health and the HSE to fund the Dignity for Patients group, therefore providing the organisation and those who rely on it for support with a degree of certainty for the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy. And now the Ara and Minister, you have 5 minutes.
Just at the outset, I want to apologise to members that there doesn't seem to be replies available. Written replies are coming now. I don't know what the glitch was, but we'll deal with that and try and ensure that it doesn't happen in future, because the practice has been to circulate the written replies during the debates. I'm taking this adjournment on behalf of my colleague, Minister James Riley, TD, and I'd like to thank Deputy Nash for raising this important matter. In 2010, a grant of almost €172,000 was approved from the Department of Health and Children's allocation of national lottery funds to this group, Dignity for Patients. This was given towards the cost of providing information and support to victims of abuse wishing to attend the Drogheda review. This independent review was established by the then Minister for Health and Children to advise on whether any additional information or insights were likely to be achieved from a further full investigation. A former High Court judge, Mr. T.C. Smith, was appointed to chair this review. This report recommended that a further investigation should not be held, and that in order to avoid prejudicing any civil or criminal cases, the report should not be published. The Attorney-General concurred with this advice, but agreed that a short summary of the report could be prepared and published. Accordingly, the Department, in consultation with the Attorney-General and Judge Smith, prepared a summary which was sent for information to 2 patient groups, including Dignity for Patients, in January last. An application for funding for the current year has been received by the Department from Dignity for Patients. The HSE has also received an application for funding. The Minister is considering the application to his department, having regard to the services that the HSE already provides for victims of abuse. It is most important that any services supported by departmental funding are fully compatible and supportive of similar services provided by the HSE. The Minister will consider Dignity for Patients' request with that in mind. It is also very important to ensure that appropriate counselling is available to all those who wish to avail of it. Both the Minister and the HSE are anxious that all former patients of the consultant are made aware of the free counselling support that is available. The HSE has arrangements in place for counselling support using the National Counselling Service, NCS, which provides individual, couple, family, group and psychosexual counselling. The NCS employs over 70 counsellors and therapists who are highly qualified and experienced in working with developmental trauma. Clients can refer themselves directly by calling a free phone number. This service is a professional, confidential counselling and psychotherapy service available free of charge in all regions of the HSE. Persons affected by these issues, but who do not wish to avail of counselling, can also speak with a psychologist or counsellor in confidence. The need for additional support will be continuously monitored by the HSE. The HSE has assigned coordinating responsibility for these matters to the Regional Manager for Consumer Affairs in the North East, who will continue to liaise as required with former patients and support groups. Minister Riley will respond to Dignity for Patients' application as soon as possible when he has had an opportunity to examine the matter fully. And I want to thank Deputy Nash for raising this important matter here tonight.
Thank you, Ara.